Welcome to Transformative Talks, an intentional wellness podcast dedicated to education, enlightenment, and empowerment through meaningful connection. Through thoughtful conversations with fellow wellness and holistic practitioners, we explore the many pathways to well-being. Each episode is designed to expand understanding, spark curiosity, and offer practical insights you can integrate into your everyday life. Our intention is to inspire your own positive transformation and support you in creating a more balanced, informed, and empowered life. Hi, and welcome back to Transformative Talks. Today, I'm excited because we are doing the first episode in a series called The Spiritual Experience. So, this series, we're going to delve into the realm of energy work, spirituality, paranormal, frequency, and beyond. Holistic healing does not just mean the physical. We are energetic beings having a human experience. So join us as we learn about all the many ways to tap into the more subtle experiences of life and how to use them to enhance your healing journey. So I have Sarah Valancourt here with me today, and she is doing some pretty awesome stuff. Sarah, go ahead, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what you do.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, Chelsea. It's wonderful to be here on your program. So, my name is Sarah Valancourt, and I am the owner of 128 Hertz Indie. I offer a range of holistic services. I do QHHT, sound baths for singles and couples. I also have a weekly membership for sound. And I also have sessions where individuals can come for the Akashic Records or Hall of Records. So thank you so much again for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. So I met Sarah. She actually came in and got a service from me, and we started talking, and it was like all these things were just like lining up. And it's like, yeah, you like that? Me too. Me too. So can you tell us a little bit just about your history, where you came from, like a little bit about your story?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually moved to Indiana in 2022 in April. I had moved here from Iowa, where I had spent about half of my life, but I'm actually originally from Florida. So I moved here to be closer to my family. And I have a background in healthcare and in business, but I've really always had an interest in holistic type of modalities, never been really interested in like medicine and that kind of thing, just like having to take pills to make myself feel better. I was just like, man, there's got to be a different way, a more natural way for my body to heal. I resigned from my public sector job in May of last year so I could pursue a couple of my um, entrepreneurial pursuits. Well, yeah, I have two businesses that I ended up starting. And so that's what I'm doing now. And I absolutely love working with individuals and helping them heal in alternative ways. It's really powerful. And I get a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment out of helping individuals.
So was there a specific thing that happened, or like a specific set of events that kind of like led you in this direction, or like piqued your interest in frequency or the QHHT?
That's a great question. So in October of 24, I ended up getting a subscription to Gaia. And so then like the floodgates opened, right? So I had this wide range of interest. Now there's just this Pandora's box and all of these amazing things that I was able to learn about. So I actually had heard of Dolores Cannon a couple of different times. And so whether that was on Gaia, and then I believe that the algorithm of Facebook started picking up on things. And I ended up getting a couple different advertisements for Dolores Cannon and QHHT. And I read a couple of her books. I actually had a couple of the audibles that I was listening to of hers. And I was very much like resonating with her work. And I knew I needed to learn a little bit more about it. And that's when I found out about like the actual hypnosis itself. And I took the class and immediately got through it super fast. And I knew I had to go on to level 2 right away as well, so I could get some of the extra tips and tricks. I actually had a sound bowl several years ago, and my aunt had given me some tarot cards as well several years ago. So I've had a couple of different things. Oh, and crystals too. I've had those in my life for a long time. I remember my childhood, there were a bunch of my grandmother's crystals in our home. So anyway, little bits speckled in here and there throughout my life. But really in October of last year was when my eyes really opened up and I started thinking about things in a lot different ways and not necessarily going down that path of like the things that were taught growing up. that's what led me here. And of course, like all the healings that can take place with QHHT. And it's just, I love that. And again, like I said, it resonated with me and I wanted to get more information.
Yeah, that resonates with me, and that they're just through your life, sometimes things pop up for you and you're all like, "Oh, this is cool," and you just kind of carry it, and then there comes a point where energetically you get these downloads and you're like, "Oh, it's time to incorporate all of these things that I've picked up over the years." This is why this landed in my life 5 years ago. This is why I've always been interested in this. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I know I can definitely resonate with that. And I've like talked to some other people, like clients and things like that. They have similar experiences, so that's really cool.
Yes. And about 128 hertz, Cindy. So grounding has really been a part of my life. Actually, speaking astrologically, is like I'm mostly all air and fire with very little earth in there. So I thought, the 128 hertz is actually for root. So very central to grounding and stability.
Yeah, nice.
Yes, and, the very first singing bowl I had was a root singing bowl, so I thought that was kind of interesting. It's just like, "Oh, okay, so spirit's guiding me to this whole grounding that showing I need some more of it personally." So,
Yeah. So do you incorporate that a lot for yourself, like on a daily basis?
yes, yes, I actually have 2, singing crystal bowls to see, which they're both for root, and those are the ones that I play most often, and every time I walk into my office or out of my office, I end up using some of my bowls at some point in time, and whether it's a Tibetan bowl or I do a couple of different ones, but definitely C's incorporated there.
Okay. So one of the foundational things for you and your business and what you're trying to do for people is frequency and energy is foundation of well-being. Can you explain a little bit about what frequency and energy is?
Yes, absolutely. So everything is energy and everything is vibration, including our thoughts, emotions, and our bodies. So frequency is the rate at which energy vibrates and it's measured in hertz. So those oscillations are per second. So I have my 128 hertz weighted tuning fork, and so that's oscillating at 128 per second. So, thinking more about the frequency and energy is that you have what we could label as like a positive or like a negative type energy. And so, if you equate those two emotions, we would say that lower frequencies are more like fear based, thinking, judgmental, kind of anger, just like kind of the lower types of stress is also in there. And so then on the other end of that, of course, for positive type emotions would be those of like love and generosity and compassion and all of those, right? So this message is not about being positive at all times,
Mhm.
right? Okay. So it's really not about that. It just like planting a smile on your face, like everything's fine in the world all the time. That's not what this is about. It's really about the regulation and alignment of the body and mind, thinking lower frequencies and some things that we're able to control and not control. So think about like environmental factors. So whether it's traffic or even your family, you could consider that pollution, weather, those are types of things that we can't control. The collective energy, right? So what's going on in the world right now is really heavy, it's chaotic. That's pretty heavy and it can really bring us down. And if we get stuck thinking about these things, then we're kind of stuck in that more lower type of energy. And then constant exposure to fear based news and media, like even if we're not subjecting it to ourselves, is coming from other places like our family, or if you're at a restaurant, they have the TV on. So it's inescapable sometimes.
There's a rabbit hole there we could go down with.
Yes.
Why is all this stuff being shoved in our faces, sort of thing? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So chronic stress keeps the nervous system in fight or flight. So that sympathetic nervous system, the hormones are preparing you for action and you're not able to actually rest. And the parasympathetic nervous system is where rest happens and that's where healing happens. So that survival state really holds us at a lower frequency. And 128 hertz indeed. I'm here to try and help bring you out of that, even if it's just temporarily.
Yeah. And there's so many ways to help to get your body out of that fight or flight and out of that sympathetic state. And that's one of the reasons why there's like so many different series with transformative talk. It's like there's so many ways to go about it because we are multifaceted beings.
Exactly.
We have the physical part of us, we have the mental health, we have the emotions, but then there's also the subtle energetic part of us. We all have our own energy. So I love that you talked about that because so much of us are in like that fight or flight.
Yes, all the time. I feel like it's just really hard to break out of that sometimes. I mean, even if you think about, well, the next thing is like our thoughts. What is it that we're thinking about? Are we thinking about work and our responsibilities, past or potential things that might be happening? Okay. And so thinking about that. So is that a positive thing that you're thinking of? Is it calm, presence, love, and compassion related to work? Or is it that stress, fear, and survival that is playing in your mind at that time? But there's so many more thoughts other than work. You've got your family, you've got your health, you've got all of these things, and so our minds are perpetually thinking about something, and just being aware of what our thoughts are and what type of emotions are being pulled up with those thoughts. And something really, too, is that your brain has no idea whether you're actually experiencing what you're thinking about or not. So if you are reliving how that guy just cut you off on the way to work, then you're just flooding your body with like, oh, that, really pissed me off or whatever. And so your body just dumps all these hormones right back into your system and then keeps you in that state. But of course, on the other end of that, you could be thinking about positive things too, something great that had happened over the weekend, or, just peace and love could be in your mind too. But I think really just being aware of that is the most important thing. This is what I do multiple times a day. I say to myself, if I happen to catch myself thinking, I'm like, beware of your thoughts. And then that's it. And I let it go. So it's not really about judging whether or not what I'm thinking about is good or bad. It's just catching it. That's the most important part. And then letting it go. But I mean, obviously, if there's some things that you really need to think about and start planning for, me, and that's a little bit different other than, the constant loop.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between allowing your thoughts to control you and being able to, step back and be aware and like control your thoughts. And I think a big part of it is routine. Like if you don't have this in your routine already, if this is not something that's familiar to you, if you're not used to just every morning, putting your feet on the ground going, what am I thinking today? That's a big part of it. So like starting to incorporate things like what you do into, even if it's just, once a month or, biweekly or something, that's going to help to create that awareness in your mind that, hey, this is something I need to take care of for myself. I need to worry about my energetic hygiene as well as like my physical hygiene.
Yes, exactly.
So, what kind of things can people do to help manage this for themselves? If maybe they're just starting out or they've never done anything like this before, what's something super simple that they could start to incorporate?
A couple of things that I like to say, well, spend some time in nature and also doing some breath work. Also, just going back to the whole thoughts, it's just catching yourself when you start to go down this rabbit hole of some negative thoughts. And like I said, just kind of like catching and releasing, not having any judgment attached to what those thoughts are. And then also practicing some gratitude and mindfulness. In the beginning of the day, I like to stand out and get some first morning sun if I can. And I feel like when I incorporate some gratitude at that point in time, I just feel so good, like starting out my day, try and get myself on the right foot starting off. And yeah, it just feels really good. I mean, just thinking about all the things that, instead of focusing on what I don't have, it's just like focusing on all of the wonderful array of people in my life and opportunities that I have, and just, the foundational things too, like safety and shelter and all of that. So even like thinking about those things, which we don't necessarily think about on a regular basis, but just taking a moment and be like, okay. And I mean, anything you can think about our senses. I'm so glad I can see the sun today, or breathing in this fresh air.
A lot of things that we take for granted that we don't, that, we just have all the time.
Yes.
But yeah, stepping back and being grateful. I love that you mentioned getting out of nature as well. Because if you think about like in terms of frequency, it's the natural frequency. Like you're being able to tune into what's already there as opposed to trying to necessarily switch it for yourself.
Mm, exactly.
So I know there's a term attunement. Is that a term that you guys use?
That I haven't used that term very regularly, but that sounds really familiar, I feel like.
Yeah, it's some, and you might call it something different in like what you do, but basically where you're bringing yourself into the presence or close proximity to something that is a higher frequency, and your body kind of attunes to what's happening.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. That's exactly right. It's just like this natural alignment of what's there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's the same thing.
yeah.
And one other thing I would suggest is limiting social media and news. So those are really huge. I've actually decided in my life that I take moments of time where it's very intentional. And what I'll do is I'll look at the news headlines only. So I just kind of just peruse through and I try not to attach any specific emotion when I'm reading through those headlines. And if there's something that I feel like is, this is good for me to know, then I'll select it. And then, of course, being careful of the things that you are subjecting yourself to. So, in, like setting time limits, and whether that's like first thing in the morning, just like waiting a half an hour before you get on your phone.
I think that's really important because it's easy to get caught up in the fact because it's so accessible. It's so easy to just kind of sit there and scroll on your phone. And even like with doing something like this, we're trying to like reach people through social media and reach people through other platforms. But think about the intention behind what you're watching.
Yes, exactly. And that actually kind of goes back to the brain has no idea that you're not actually experiencing it. So when you're getting all this doom and gloom from the social media, then that's of course keeping you back in that survival mode. But then also like thinking about they push these scandals and then you get sucked into that and then you're just well, this actually did happen in my household is that we were talking about how frequencies and energies are affecting us like when we're actually just tuning into whatever that media is. And I literally watched one of my family members describe how he had seen one of the scandals and then his whole emotion, his whole demeanor changed. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was so interesting watching it happen. We were literally talking about it. And then that actually happened. He got sucked into it. The scandal had been going on for like over a week and a half. It was just him retelling it. So got all those emotions and
Got under the skin.
all those hormones started flowing through the body and just like keeping you in that state again. And I was like, fascinating.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, yeah. So again, with the social media and the news, it's just being intentional about what it is and maybe introducing a learning type of educational material.
One thing also I wanted to say about the scrolling, I've noticed that within myself, scrolling and then I'm in a fairly good mood and then something pops into my algorithm
Yes.
magically. I don't know how that happens. Something pops into my algorithm that completely shifts how I'm feeling. And then I have to go, okay, I need to put my phone down because this is too much. I very deliberately don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. I think some people are a little bit more sensitive. Everyone, your subconscious like perceives all of this all the time. So it's always reacting to it. But some people, it's a little bit more of an intense reaction than others. But even if you can watch the news and you're numbed out to it, that in itself is a reaction. So you can be numbed out to it. But if you're numbed out to it, that's kind of a signal that maybe there's something going on there too that you need to step away from the exposure of it.
That's a really good point.
So in terms of frequency and the human body, how does that actually work? Like when you go into, is it something like you have to have that external factor, like a singing bowl or crystal or something, or is that something you can kind of do for yourself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can do that for yourself for sure. So, some of those things that we talked about, kind of like going in nature, that can really help. Really, just like catching yourself if you happen to be in a negative state, and you just realize, like, man, I'm in a kind of a crummy mood. And just maybe you can ask yourself, why? Like, is there something that happened that I'm really bothered about, or an interaction, or just trying to find out what the the reasoning behind that is and exploring. And meditation is wonderful. I have actually done that. If I found if I've been in kind of a crummy mood, I'm like, man, I need a reset. So whether I jump on one of the apps and find a meditation to listen to that's kind of a mood boosting, or if I just spend a few minutes and do some breathing exercises, then usually able to turn it around. But really, the healing happens when the parasympathetic nervous system is active. So those non-essential things such as digestion and tissue repair, that can start to happen again when your body's actually in that rest mode. So getting out of all of that fight or flight, getting out of survival mode, moving stress and energetic resistance to a level that's more conducive to healing and rest. Your frequency will rise naturally when it's in that state.
So, would you say a good judge of you kind of feeling into where you're at frequency wise is like the state of your emotions and your thoughts?
Yes, I would think so. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think checking in with yourself, engaging how you feel. Usually, if something feels bad or something's uncomfortable, or you kind of notice, like, I really don't want to be in this place. I don't want to be around these people. Like, that's kind of a good signal that, hey, something needs to shift and change for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So, with your business, 128 Hertz, what all services do you offer within that?
Okay, so I have QHHT. I am a level 2 practitioner. I also have sound healing, so level 2 certified for that. Crystal singing bowls, also at the Tibetan bowl and tuning forks. I offer a weekly sound subscription.
Okay.
It's actually two separate sound sessions that'll be sent to your inbox, or you have access to those every week. So those are really cool because it's like the maintenance, right? So instead of actually coming to see me, you can have things delivered right to your inbox.
Nice.
And then also, I have the Akashic and Hall of Records sessions as well. So, and then of course, oh yeah, and the virtual and group events. So, not just a one-on-one or with a couple, but also can have groups.
So I'm curious about, well, all of it, but I'll start off by asking about QHHT. So you talked a little bit before about like Dolores Cannon and what it is. But could you explain a little bit about what a QHHT session looks like?
Yes, absolutely. A QHHT session usually, well, it consists of two different parts. You have the interview section, and that's where the practitioner will really get to know their client and go over any questions that they have that they want answered during the session itself. And then the second section of QHHT consists of the hypnosis portion. And that's where I will guide individuals um, into this state, a somnambulistic state, and ask them lots of questions about what they're experiencing and ask the questions that they brought along with them to get answered. And it's just absolutely amazing because whether you go to a point in time in this particular life or not, the answers are provided by yourself, by the clients themselves, and allow some insight to things that are going on, things that you may not have connected before. So, really allowing that static that we have in our mind, those thoughts that are always there, just kind of silence a little bit and allow the right side of your brain where the intuition and creativity is. It allows that to come through and provide you with answers to many different things. So I just love it. Sometimes if you have some residue, we'll call it, from a previous life or an experience in this life that you're holding on to, you may not even realize it. But through a session with QHHT, you provide yourself with this insight and are able to hear that from yourself. And then you have all these little aha moments and you just make these connections. And they're actually recorded as well. So because the actual sessions themselves can kind of vary in time, it's hard to remember sometimes. Like everything, it's kind of like a dream. Like when you're trying to remember it, it just kind of goes away. But they're recorded. So then you can actually listen and pick up on extra stuff you may have missed. So, and that can provide healing. So these residues that you may have carried over after you have a session, it might really help to clear that residue. And that's when some of those deep healings can take place. And your brain does go into different wave patterns too. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we're operating in beta and alpha, but hypnosis actually happens in our brain a couple of times a day anyway, when we first wake up and when we first go to sleep. So hypnosis is very natural and nothing to really be afraid of or be apprehensive towards.
So, when you were in the training for this, did you receive a lot of sessions for yourself?
I have had 4 personal QHHT sessions, and I have gotten something different out of every single one of them, actually, just loads of information from all of them. So Dolores's work, she believes that you could have one QHHT session and be done. Like, you wouldn't really have to have another one. I mean, personally, I feel like we're at different points in time and we're learning new things in our life all the time. So, I mean, like I said, I've had 4. So, and I've learned new things through each one of my other sessions. So I believe that having more than one QHHT session is possible. And I mean, even advisable depending on what it is that you're going through.
Yeah, I would imagine because I feel like for myself, like 10 years ago, I was a totally different person. 5 years ago, I feel like I was a totally different person. I could almost see like, it just different seasons of your life going in and like seeing what
Yeah.
path you need to go down. Just sometimes it's just confirmation too, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. That is a thing, is that we have that intuition, but not always are we really listening to it. It's just like it might pop up every once in a while, but kind of depending on what it is and what it relates to, easy to kind of shut it down sometimes, even though we're like drawn to it.
Yeah. With you doing the 4 QHHT sessions for yourself, what is one or two of the most profound things that you realized about yourself from those?
There's one that really, really pops up in my mind. And I had this rocky relationship with my mom. And at one point in time during one of my sessions, it was like I found myself in the womb. And it was just like going back to that point in time and just like having this foundational bit, like reminded me of this closeness and like wanting to be able to reestablish this relationship with my mom, and or at least having compassion towards the situation. And that really led me to doing some other work and inner child stuff. And it was really healing. It was really good.
Yeah, sometimes it's just an awareness thing. It's some look, if you don't know what you don't know, and then when you know it, you know what you're able to do with the information. You can take yourself different places with
Yeah.
it. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, so another one I wanted to ask about was you do sound healing. So you have bowls and you have tuning forks. So do you use those in combination? Is it just one or the other? What does that look like?
Yes. Oh, that's a great question. So, the thing about crystal singing bowls is that they're made of 99.999% crystal, right? So this silica, and when you actually play the sound bowls, it resonates with our cells because our cells are actually, they have silica in them, right? So it's just
We're made of stone stuff.
are, yes, 100%. And so these crystalline structures, they're able to align, and that really helps to bring you into that meditative state. And you're almost kind of like just kind of floating there. It just is so relaxing. I like to start off all of my sessions with 128 hertz tuning forks, the name of my business, because of course it has the grounding and the stability. It just like helps to bring the individual, if maybe they're feeling a little apprehensive, just like to calm them a little bit. And I have the weighted forks. So if an individual might be experiencing some pain or discomfort in areas, for example, very recently I worked on some elbows. So I'll actually put the tuning forks on the affected area. And then so after the tuning forks, then I'll go and I'll use the Tibetan bowl and the crystal singing bowls.
And you can do this for either individual people or couples or groups, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually have tentatively scheduled a group session that'll be coming up at the end of the month. And I'm working on getting some couples in just to see, because I haven't actually done any couple sessions yet. So I've just worked on individuals. So I'm working on getting some of them in just so I can get some experience and kind of like tweak what it is that I'll do.
I feel like that would be a really cool thing to do, either like just something different for a date night, or like Valentine's Day is going to be coming up too. Yeah. Anniversaries.
Oh,
That'd be
yeah.
good.
Love that.
Yeah, that feels like it would be an opportunity to connect with your partner in a different way.
Yes. And those are going to be specifically designed four connections. So there's really going to be a lot of like the heart chakra, singing bowl that will be involved in that one in combination with some other thing.
I love that. So you mentioned Akashic and Hall of Records sessions. So I was really curious about that. So what does that look like?
So what that looks like, this is, in my opinion, it is related to QHHT. So the Akashic records, it's a record of your soul's history. So everything that you have experienced in all of your lives, it doesn't matter, whether you were a being or maybe like a rock, whatever your being,
The rock is in the record.
the rock is in the records. So the thing about the Akashic and Hall of Records is really focused around free will. And maybe in some other life you have made an oath, or there was a judgment, or there was a pact, or, back in the day they had blood oaths. So those are lifelong, right? And so,
Energetically binding.
energetically binding, exactly. And so then that would carry through in this life, for example. So maybe you're having issues with financial stuff, or maybe it could be celibacy, or there's so many different things, right? It could have been because you're energetically blocked from a previous agreement or contract that you had made in another life. And so having a session for the Akashic or Hall of Records gives you an opportunity to have these records displayed before you, and you can choose whether or not that you want to move forward in your life with those energetic bindings.
Mhm.
So you have that option to destroy those if you'd like. And most often, individuals are left feeling lighter, like they don't have whatever that tie was anymore. And so potentially this could be something that was holding you back. And so now, due to free will, you don't have that tie anymore and you can move forward without those.
Yeah, nice. So I can definitely see how that could interplay with having a QHHT session. Maybe you find out some things
Exactly.
during the QHHT session. Okay, this is something that I want to maybe come back and delve into a little bit more and find out more, and then maybe actually specifically release that.
Yes, exactly. So I feel like with the QHHT sessions is like you're given a bunch of nuggets of information, and maybe there could be something you didn't even ask about, but it caused something in your mind to just kind of highlight an area. And yeah, so then you're right. Might be thinking about, well, why didn't that get brought up, or whatever? It might not have been pertinent at the time because you had other questions. But yeah, the Hall of Records and the Akashic records, that could definitely help in those areas.
The type of people that would come in and do this type of membership, is there like a certain group of people you feel like it would serve better? Or is it just kind of like for anybody that's curious about what this can do?
Yeah, I feel like it would be for anyone who's curious about it. If anyone has had a sound session and they have been able to experience, what it's like for the sound, well, it'll be a little bit different still because I put some intentions into it. So I will use an insight timer to do some of my meditations and listen, but I'm just trying to figure out, like how am I going to differentiate myself between, them? And I feel like mine's going to be more personal, and I have like intentions included in it, and then you'll actually be able to see everything that's going to be offered. So yeah, anyone who might be curious, just having some extra maintenance in their week to try and get them out of that survival mode and get into some meditative beautiful sounds.
Yeah, and this is virtual, right? So it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be local to where you're at.
Yes.
So when people either come in with sessions for you, or say they're doing the weekly membership and they're having their own experience individually, how can they expect to feel afterwards?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like it's really definitely going to be is going to vary from person to person, but feeling a sense of well-being and relaxation is really going to be some of um, the top experiences. So nervous system relief, emotional releases, people can experience that. Feeling lighter, clearer, just able to take on the day, just kind of getting out of that mindset where, if you're upset or feeling emotional, then sometimes that logic kind of goes out. So when you're able to think more clearly, then I feel like you're able to solve more problems easier, things like that. Also, maybe even just like, yeah, increased presence and awareness, self-awareness too.
Yeah, and I know the work that I've done on myself was nervous system regulation. through many different modalities. Sometimes it's subtle things that you don't even realize that you're operating from a place of panic or fear. And it's one of those things I always encourage people to, like, when after they come in for sessions with me, like, just pay attention to anything that changes. It doesn't have to be like something huge, big in your face, but like over time, the more you do it, the more it becomes part of your practice of self-care for
Exactly.
yourself, basically, then you're going to start seeing more profound results.
100% agree.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really great point. I mean, just these little changes that you happen to notice, like, oh, that guy just cut me off and I didn't even get upset about it. Yeah, exactly.
How can we direct people towards you?
Okay. Thank you for asking. 128hertzindie.com is my website. You can go there and look at all my list of services. You can schedule there. I also am on Facebook. So I've been making some posts there. I've actually created an event for the virtual group regression that I'll have. And that's going to be on I think the 25th is a Sunday. So anyway, they can reach me on Facebook as well. Those are the main areas, but I am here in Fishers. I also have my email address is 128hertzindie, so 128HERTZINDY at gmail.com.
Okay, so you said something about you have like a special offer for, is it just for new clients or what's that look like?
Yeah, so it could be new clients, it could be repeat clients, but I do have a special right now. If you book through the end of January, any sessions, it will be buy one session, get another session half off.
Nice.
Or yes, get another service half off, but this excludes the session packages.
So that's a good little motivator to get in there, especially too beginning of the year. I think a lot of people, have the New Year's resolutions and they're making those different decisions. They're going, okay, this is a fresh start. I want to do things differently this year. So this is definitely something you can kind of start to incorporate for yourself to get yourself on the right track.
Exactly. Bring you back to alignment and healing to allow your body to get into that space where it feels like it can relax and begin to heal itself.
Yeah, we all need that. We all need that for sure. So thank you so much for coming and chatting with me
Yes.
and exploring and explaining some, different aspects of, energy work and frequency and different ways that that can help people. So thank you all for watching and listening. And I hope to see you for the next transformative talks.